Okay, guys, this is a special request, okay? And today I'm going to talk about how businesses scam people. Now, this was a special request, okay? So I'm going to explain some of the ways in which I think businesses have basically scammed people, even if it's legally, in various ways, and sometimes even illegally. For example, recently, I went to a shop, the local shop, and bought some food. And then I it wasn't, and basically they do what they always do, which is they basically they put if you buy it, they just put it on the till. You never get to find out how much it is, and basically I hand over a credit card. They took the money, and what you happened then is the amount came out, receipt came out, and they basically were about to throw it away because for some strange reason, certain local shops do not like handing you a receipt to after you paid for something by credit card. They prefer to throw the receipt in the bin, presumably because once you've walked out the shop, you can't complain. Well, I thought this was suspicious for once, so I insisted on actually looking at the bill. And then they weren't very happy, but they printed out a receipt. And on the receipt, it showed that the prices were different to how they were advertised in the shop. And they put on an extra 50 or 60 pence onto the price of some of the items, even though they were clearly even though there were stickers actually on the products with a different price. I think they'd rather hoped that people wouldn't notice that they were different. Now, the reason this had happened was because they had a barcode price and a shop price. So they had a price that they put on a sticker that they put on the products, and they had a secret barcode price which only the system knew, but the public didn't know. Most people just walk into a shop, hand over the goods, see somebody passing items over a barcode, and assume that because it's been handed over by a barcode, it will all be added up correctly, not knowing that on some occasions some shops are basically scamming people by having a different price on the system and a different price with stickers on the stickers. Okay? And they hope people will just go in, pay by credit card, and not notice any different. That's one way in which shops scam people. Another way is sometimes they won't give you the correct change, and they hope your maths isn't good enough to notice. Other times, it's more bizarre than that. They will often have things like these special offers, which aren't really as good as they seem. So, for example, they may have a price reduction on a pack of 12 crisps, for example. But if you look carefully, you may find that you can buy 2 packs of 6 of exactly the same crisps for less than the price of a supposedly reduced pack of 12. And by that, I mean, obviously, a pack of 6 is going to be cheaper than a pack of 12, usually, unless they're desperate to get rid of them. But I mean, 2 packs of 6 might actually be cheaper than buying 1 pack of 12, even if they reduced the pack of 12. Another way they scam people is to actually charge more money than they would normally, as a supposed special offer. I have seen, and I'm not making this up, things like something similar to 49p each. Special offer, 2 for £1. Yes, that's correct. The special offer of buying 2 is more than buying 1 twice. So if you actually buy 2 of them, it costs you more than if you bought 1 of them, walked out the shop, walked in again, and bought another one. Now, I don't think this is because they're trying to limit them, or because You know, they don't want people to buy too many, and that's not the reason. It's just basically a way of scamming people. And this was pointed out on a BBC News programme called Watchdog many years ago, especially by Tesco. Also, again, although I talked about where they deliberately lower the price of like different items, sometimes even if there's not even a special offer on, sometimes it's cheaper to buy 2 packs of 6 than it is to buy a pack of 12 of exactly the same item. Like I said, in packets of crisps and things like that. And so often when people are buying, they have to look and ask, am I getting the best value for money here? Could I buy a smaller one or a smaller pack and save money and get more of those? People often have to beware in shops in the West when buying like this. I know this is common and everybody knows this, but this was a special request people asked about this. Other things are, you know, where, for example, they will offer things like various warranties and things. But if the shop gets bought out by another company, sometimes that means that certain gift vouchers or certain warranties may not necessarily be honoured anymore. I remember, for example, when House of Fraser went bankrupt and another store bought them out. And I can't remember the exact details now, but they said something along the lines of existing gift vouchers would not be honoured, and that because, and I don't fully understand this, somebody bought out the stores, but not the actual, not the company. It's very complicated. I don't understand it. And so they said that anybody who'd bought anything beforehand would have to get a refund through the administrators, which might take a very long process. And if they bought and gift cards and gift vouchers are often worthless if a company goes bankrupt. And so the new company bought them out, but said that they would not honour the gift vouchers, and they would have to deal with the administrators, even though they bought the company out and were now trading under that name. I believe it was House of Fraser, okay? I believe it was quite scandalous at the time this happened, but it was all apparently completely legal because somebody else just came along and bought them out. Another way businesses can scam people is when another company buys out another company and then refuses to honour the warranties. For example, a long time ago I bought a graphics card, and it said that the graphics card had a lifetime warranty. Great, I thought. It means if it ever breaks down, I can get a brand new one or new equivalent. Well, many years later, not surprisingly, that graphics card did actually break down. I thought, great, lifetime warranty. I then investigated this, and apparently a new company had bought out the graphics card company, and that company said that they would no longer honour any of the warranties of the company who they'd bought out, apparently completely legally. So even though I bought something believing it had a lifetime warranty, and even though the company still in some form exists, I cannot actually use the lifetime warranty because the company has bought them out. All apparently completely legal. This also happened with a different graphics card where they said lifetime warranty. This again, another company, this company went bankrupt, and you couldn't even. And another company bought them out, saying again, but the difference is they completely closed the company down, but they just wanted their technology. So they wanted their secrets, if you like. So they bought the company just to get their design secrets, and then shut the company down. Simply because they got rid of one of their biggest competitors, which at the time was 3DFX. In the late 90s, 3DFX were the most popular and famous PC graphics card manufacturer, and Nvidia then started to compete with them and eventually beat them, and 3DFX went out of business, ironically because they tried to make things look better rather than work faster. And as I said, when I got my 3DFX card a long time ago, it said lifetime warranty. And as I said, I also bought another one later on, which I mentioned earlier, where it said lifetime warranty. In both cases, neither of the lifetime warranties would be honoured because other companies bought them out. Also, although this is taking obvious to many people, there's always the small print. Sometimes businesses have some really obscure and stupid terms and conditions. Okay? And they often do this hoping people won't actually read them. For example, many years ago, though I don't think this would happen today, right? Businesses used to get rid of people who use the internet too much. So they, for example, many years ago, I was actually banned by British Telecom from their internet service provider just for using the internet too much. I just got an email one day saying, I can't remember the exact wording, we're sorry, but you've used the internet far too much, so now we're going to ban you. Now, not we will give you an alternative, we're just going to ban you. And that was that. And that might not mean anything to many people outside Britain, but British Telecom is the main phone company over here. They used to be a communist state-run business. If anybody wants a phone, they have to go to British Telecom. The internet generally over here, the vast majority of it is actually provided by British Telecom in real terms, even if you go to another supplier. Behind the scenes, that supplier pays to British Telecom to actually provide the infrastructure. But, there you go. Nowadays, that probably wouldn't happen. So, often, as I said, businesses scam people with these obscure terms and conditions which they hope people won't actually read. So, other ways to scam people is by being factually correct but misleading. This happens an awful lot. For example, sometimes with, particularly sometimes it can happen with TV marketing. One way, however, that, for example, these TV shopping channels, okay? Now, often TV shopping channels are a scam because simply you can buy the same product elsewhere on the internet for less money. But they do it in such a way that they get people to panic buy. So they will use things like they will tell you, You know, we've only got so many stock left. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. We've only got, when these are all gone, we'll never have them again. They're only about, I don't know, half the stock left. There's only half the stock left, and you can sort of see a count showing how many of the stock left to try and get people to panic buy. And many people don't realise if they just went onto Amazon or many other sites, they can get exactly the same product for much less money than what this store is offering them. Now, okay, maybe today Amazon isn't quite as reputable as it was. In the past, a lot of Amazon products were actually provided and shipped by Amazon themselves, not by third-party companies. But a long time ago, a lot of the products were actually shipped by Amazon themselves. Okay? And you can still get them cheaper elsewhere. And okay, well, maybe some people prefer to use a phone and then on the internet and like watching the telly, fine. But sometimes you could probably even go into some shops and get a similar thing for, or even the same product for less money than what you're getting on the telly with their supposed once in a lifetime special offer. You know? You know? Also, for example, if you buy something on an online shopping store, you don't even know if it's you don't even know if it's just part of an Apprentice TV show or not. Because, for example, sometimes they had Apprentice stars actually trying to sell things on a real shopping channel, and they would use tactics like they'd only have 10 items to sell. But they use tactics like 50% of the stock has gone. That means they sold 5 of them. But somebody sitting at home probably thinks they've got hundreds of them. And thinks, oh, 5% of the stock is, 10% of the stock is gone. 50% of stock, that must mean they must have sold hundreds of them. Oh wow, these must be popular. I must buy straight away. When in reality, only 5 people have bought them. You know? So if they use percentages, it gives sometimes an impression that a product is more popular than it actually is. Also, what you will find sometimes is that they have excessive post and packing charges, where you just believe that, you know, like, and the reason for this, you see, is that they often offer you sort of like a 30-day try it, and if you don't like it, return it, you know, option. Okay, but if you do that, then they can say, well, you know, we will not refund you the post and packing charge because we sent it to you. We'll only refund you the cost of the actual item. And so if they have an inflated post and packing charge, it means if you return it, they can pay you less money on the grounds they can say, well, you know, we sent the product to you. You know, and or some other nonsense. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what the rules are, but I think that was one of the well-known scams at the time. They would only return. Okay. Other things are where you know clearly they're lying about how much they like the product. So, for example, you can see, I don't know, on some of these TV shows where they're clearly cooking food, you can sometimes see that the food hasn't been cooked properly and doesn't look very good. However, they will then eat it and say how clearly delicious it tastes and how it's the best thing they've ever tasted, or something like that, even though you can clearly tell that wouldn't be the case because the food was clearly either burnt or clearly hadn't been cooked properly. They are just paid to lie about how good it is. Another thing is they'll say, oh yes, I've got the product. Yes, you may have the product, but do you actually use it? So they will say things like, oh yes, you know, I've got one of these at home, and I got one from the company because I work here, and and they might lie about having a special discount even though they're probably given it just to try out and say, yes, I've got it. And the thing is that the law states that they're not really allowed to lie about what the product can or cannot do. But it's very difficult to prove or disprove how much one of the people on the TV show actually really genuinely uses the product, because it's impossible to know. So they could be given it at home, they may never use it, they may think it's complete rubbish, but they will go on the television and say, oh yes, I use this all the time, I use it to make this meal and that meal, even though they never use it at all, and it's impossible to know whether they actually do use it or not. Once, I can't remember, also once, and this was something that shocked me, and it shocked me so much I couldn't believe it. I once saw somebody go into WH Smith's and they bought something and they were arguing about something they bought. And I can't remember the full details of this now. It might have been something like a game, I can't remember what it was now, but somebody bought something they weren't happy without, they wanted their money back. Okay, and this shocked even me. Now this customer was arguing with the shopkeeper. He didn't get aggressive. He might have been angry, but he never showed any sign of physical violence. He never pulled a knife out. He never raised his fist. He was just angry. But he didn't shout and scream, he didn't hurl abuse, he didn't swear. He was just being firm. The shop assistant wasn't very happy about it, and after a while, for no reason whatsoever, he suddenly ordered the security guard to grab him and physically push him out the shop. Now, WH Smith's is a very highly reputable bookstore that sells other things here. It sells many things, but it's best known for books. But it sells many other things. It sells at the time computer games, stationery like pens and paper, books, magazines, sweets, many things. And for me to see this was absolutely astonishing. I had never seen it before in my life. I mean, if this could have been really nasty, fine. Unbelievably nasty, but they weren't. They showed no sign of them about to turn really nasty. And I've never seen it before, and I've never seen it since. And clearly, if businesses want to get rid of somebody and they don't want to give you a refund, they can just get the security guard to physically push them out the store. Another scam was when somebody apparently, I read about this in online, where somebody bought, I think it was a vacuum cleaner from a store, or a washing machine, or something like that, something that was faulty. I can't remember why. It was faulty, okay? And they bought it on the internet. And I can't remember the full details now, but they talked to, how it happened, but they talked to head office, and head office said, take it into the store for a refund. So they took it into, maybe they bought it from, I don't know, from a shop, and I can't remember the full details, but anyway, they were told to take it into a shop for a refund. So they took it into the shop for a refund. They were told to get lost. So they basically went back on the internet again. And the internet said, I'm very sorry, take it back to the store again. So they took it back to the store again, and again the store refused. I think this time the guy caused some sort of major fuss. I think he refused to take the product away full stop. I think the police were involved or something like that. Anyway, this guy said, and eventually it became some sort of news story. I'd have to track it down because it was several months ago. And then eventually the head office agreed to actually refund the guy. So it seemed this guy was being given the runaround with them saying take it to the shop, and the shop saying no, we're not going to refund you. And this guy basically been given a runaround, which is not very helpful. Okay. So as I said, often a lot of things can happen. Okay. Another one was HDMI leads. Okay. Now, in the past, one particular store, Comet, which basically closed down, in simple terms. I'm not sure if it exists in some form, but it closed down. Okay. Used to sell televisions. And at the time, they were on special commission. All the sales staff were on secret sales commission to try and sell expensive HDMI leads. Now, if you don't know what they are, if you're learning English, it's basically one of these wires that connects a high definition television up to something like a Blu-ray player, or you know, a gaming system like an Xbox or things like that, right? You can get such leads now for about £3 or £4, maybe. Back then, you could get a cheap lead for about £10 or £12. But they wanted you to buy the expensive, ultra high quality, ultra branded ones, which for some reason they were charging about £50 for. Probably about nearly 15 to 20 years ago, I forget now. I bought a television broke down, so I bought another one. Okay, I chose as a monitor. Okay, and I think the television was about £200, which was, you know, that's what you had to pay back then for like a 19-inch or something like that. It's a smaller one, and they were trying to charge, and they were really trying to get me to pay £50 for an HDMI lead, when you could get them much cheaper elsewhere. And they kept saying, oh yes, but if you buy a cheap lead, the picture quality won't be as good, the sound won't be as good, and you won't be getting the best out of your television. So while you could save money, they were claiming it could be a false economy. Now the reality is yes, I will be honest, there are differences in HDMI leads, simply in terms of how long they last. Some aren't built very well and they will break. I got a cheap one once, and to be fair, it did break. It self-destructed, but you know, it was about £2-3, right? But to be fair, so I do know they can, but their argument was not on the basis of how sturdy it was built. Their argument was based on picture quality and sound quality. Now, a lot of reviewers did reviews on HDMI wires at the time, said that to most normal people there is no difference. Now, I know nowadays they've got things like HDMI with built-in Ethernet built into the HDMI cable and 4K, and they say that you do need a better cable if you're going to pump 4K into one of these tellies, and there are some people who actually say that is true. But back then, for most normal people, an HDMI was an HDMI wire. And unless you had an incredibly long wire that was going to, you know, you're going to try and watch something in the garage or something from, you know, a Blu-ray player in your house, then a normal cheap wire would do. And these salespeople were on special commission to try and sell these cables because, ironically, they got more profit from the cables than they got from the televisions. So they were basically trying to scam people by getting them to try and buy these expensive wires that they frankly didn't need, when a cheaper one would easily have done. They didn't say, oh yes, you could have an HDMI, do you need an HDMI wire? They say, oh no, you must have the best. You must have a very, very good one that costs £50. You know, because it's got, I don't know, still, you know, gold, I don't know, connectors or something. Yes, I can understand them trying to sell them, but they were trying to really push this on everybody. It was a well-known scam at the time, and it was even, you know, discussed on the television. So these are some of the dodgy business practices. Another thing that I noticed, right, was that because my mum struggles to move, okay, I got her some special remote control mains adapt things, okay, and they allow us to switch things on and off using a remote control, okay, so she can switch, for example, a light off easily, right, because you can't easily reach it, but you can reach remote control, okay, switch a light on and off at night, okay, and other things, okay. And what I found out was that these remote controlled mains adapters are only 5 amps. So which I want to try and do is to switch on and off a heater, okay. But you will not know that unless you buy the product, because nowhere on the packaging does it actually tell you that there's a 5 amp limit. You believe that there's a 13 amp limit. In fact, a rival company does actually sell 13 amp ones, so it can be possible to buy them. And it's not until you actually open up the packaging and you actually get the actual adapters out, these special, things for remote controls, that it says on the back 5 amps. But if you actually do not open it up, there is no way you can see it, because all their, the cardboard packaging hides this. And it's not until you actually open it up, and you can't, and they're not even in a box, so you can't look at them in the shop even. They're actually sealed, and you have to cut open a plastic, thick plastic wrapping around it to find this out. So somebody would not know until they bought the product and actually had it that perhaps it wouldn't be as good as they thought. And because nowhere was this mentioned, it just said, we'll control things. And so sometimes you may not be fully aware of things or the limitations of the product until you've actually bought the thing. I'm not 100% sure that's entirely legal. So there you go. A special request, a collection of my ideas of how some businesses scam people. Okay? Thanks for watching. Bye.